If it happens in the evening, it'll be on 24 hours late night.
Tonight on 24 Hours Weekend, United Church members adopt a compromise on the gays as ministers issue. Environment Week gets a send-off, and the Folk Festival gets a preview. A lumberyard fire in the city causes damage estimated at $100,000. And on Sportsbeat tonight, two Winnipeggers battle for the Canadian Middleweight Championship. Good evening. After months of debate on ordaining gays as ministers, Manitoba United Church members finally voted on the issue last night. They chose a compromise approach. And even though it didn't change church policy, the decision has been praised by a gay activist. Fred Youngs reports.
The debate's been going on for months in the United Church. It came to a head last night at the annual meeting of the church's Manitoba and Northwestern Conference. In the end, the more than 550 delegates at the meeting opted for the status quo. Gay activist Chris Vogel says the Manitoba Church's decision is an important first step.
Insofar as I want to end social disharmony and the mistreatment of gay people and lesbians, this action by the church is a very courageous one, I think, which makes steps in that direction.
D, concur, 325. Not concur, 135.
Last night, delegates voted in favor of continuing the current method of selecting ministers. That system makes no reference to sexual orientation, and so it wouldn't be a barrier to a gay person who wanted to be ordained.
It basically said there shouldn't be a rule that says that automatically disqualifies someone.
But the delegates refused to adopt the controversial report that endorses the ordination of openly gay ministers and common law marriages. They say the church needs more time to consider that move. Even though they shied away from endorsing the report, Vogel says the Manitoba Church has sent a clear signal on how it feels about gays in the ministry.
What they did was to reaffirm, I hope permanently, their position that the fact that a candidate for ordination is gay or lesbian ought not to interfere with the selection process for them to become ultimately clergy.
This isn't the end of this issue for the United Church. Some of these delegates will have to deal with it at the national level. And Vogel expects their attitudes will become more liberal towards homosexuals the more they talk about it. Fred Youngs, CBC News, Winnipeg.
When Young United Church was gutted by a fire last December, church members hoped they might be able to reconstruct and preserve the steeple of the historic edifice. But now it looks like there was just too much damage done to the steeple structure, and the whole site will have to be leveled. Manitoba water bomber crews are helping fight forest fires in northwestern Ontario. The old Kenora 14 fire is still being fought, but it is under control. And another one, called Fire 64, is burning some 60 kilometers north of Kenora, and several crews are fighting that fire. Lack of rainfall and an extended drought since last year have made the northwestern Ontario situation serious. The area has been designated as a restricted fire zone. No open fires are allowed, and that includes all provincial parks where all permits have been suspended. The situation is to be reassessed next Thursday. There are still 20 fires burning in Manitoba, mostly between Lake Winnipeg and the Ontario border. And there is one restricted area in the southeastern part of the province where permits are needed to drive on a fire guard road. Winnipeg police are still investigating the cause of a fire at a lumberyard early this morning. The fire at EJR Lumber Distributors at 1138 Pacific was well underway when the fire department crews arrived at 3:30 this morning. It took firefighters about 90 minutes to bring the blaze under control. The cause of the fire is unknown, but damage from it is estimated at $100,000. Dr. Benjamin Spock has guided a raft of parents through the difficult child-raising years in the past, but he says it's tougher today. Dr. Spock was speaking at the Winnipeg Parents Show in the city today. He notes that the extended family is vanishing, and today's children don't have the same roots as those of a few years ago, and they don't have the same feelings of security. Dr. Spock says single parents should be able to stay home in the preschool years, subsidized if necessary. And he thinks more money should go into daycare, education, and health, rather than building up military forces. The parent show ends tomorrow. Over the next few days, Canadians will be taking part in events marking Environment Week. Activities in Manitoba started today with a concert in Assiniboine Park. Fred Youngs was there.
About 250 people took advantage of the warm, sunny weather this afternoon to take in the concert in the park. It was sponsored by Environment Canada and the Winnipeg Folk Festival. And it served two purposes: kicking off Environment Week and as a preview of the Folk Festival, which starts July 7th.
And the sweet little town, and the two cafe, and the clock flipping ads on the wall. You stood in that.
Last year, thousands of people attended the show, but this year the crowds were much smaller. One organizer blamed the rainstorm in the morning and competition with tomorrow's teddy bear picnic as the primary reasons for the lower attendance. Environment Week ends next Sunday with the finish of a marathon canoe race at Fort Gibraltar in Whittier Park. Fred Young, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The severe thunderstorm watch announced earlier by Environment Canada for the southern portion of the Red River region has now been canceled, but a watch has been issued for the southeastern Whiteshell-Kenora Rainy Lake region that will last until 3:40 a.m. Northern skies will clear from the west overnight, and unsettled conditions which dominated southern Manitoba today will persist through the night tonight. As a result, some thunder showers will continue in part of the southern half of the province overnight. Mainly sunny skies with isolated afternoon or evening thunder showers will once again be the order of the day on Sunday and Monday for most of Manitoba, and temperatures will be well above normal for the next few days. Now the forecasts in detail. First of all, for southern Manitoba, a few cloudy periods, scattered thunder showers tonight with lows of 15 degrees. Sunday will be mainly sunny with possible afternoon thunder showers and highs of 32. Monday will be mainly sunny with a chance of a thunder shower, and it will be hot. For northern Manitoba, cloudy tonight with isolated thunder showers in the southern parts of the forecast area. Occasional showers or flurries in the Churchill and York regions. Lows will range from 12 to -2 at Churchill, and Sunday will be mainly sunny except for coastal regions. For northwestern Ontario, variable cloudiness with occasional showers tonight, lows 12 to 5. Sunday will be partly cloudy with scattered thunder showers and highs 28 to 20, and Monday will be mainly sunny. In Winnipeg at news time, the temperature is 21, the wind southeast at 13. That's news and weather for tonight. John Evans and Sportsbeat will be along right after these messages, so stay tuned.
What happens when bears from all over congregate in Assiniboine Park? They party. It's the Bear Bash Boogie, and you're invited to join Laurie Mustard, Jim Ingebrigtsen, and Murray Parker for 2 solid hours of boogieing with the Bears. There'll even be a bash unit to take care of any bears who overdo it. It could be the party of the year, so get down with the Bears. The Bear Bash Boogie, 10 a.m. Sunday, May 29th, live from the Teddy Bears Picnic here on CBC Television, Manitoba.
You might see this as a quiet drive in the country, but there's another way to look at it. As 3,000 pounds of steel and glass hurtling down the highway. That's how Canadian Tire sees your car when we install brakes. For over 65 years, we've trained our technicians to be the best. That's why we guarantee your brakes for as long as you own your car. Because to us, the most important parts of any drive are the stops along the way. The right choice for auto service has never been so clear. Canadian Tire.
John Evans, and welcome to Sportsbeat. We begin tonight with a story out of Saskatoon. A couple of Winnipeg boys are battling for the Canadian Middleweight Championship. Muhammad El Tassi is the champ, and Terry Jesmer wants to take it from him. We pick up the action in the second round. Muhammad El Tassi in the black trunks. He's a 22-year-old against Terry Jesmer in the blue trunks. Jesmer 34. Midway through the second round, a wild flurry by Terry Jesmer, but Muhammad El-Tassi comes right back and he actually hurts Jesmer. He would later get knocked down in that second round. Moving on to round number 5, this fight would get really sloppy. Terry Jesmer puts Muhammad El-Tassi in a headlock, then starts to punch him in the face. Muhammad El-Tassi comes back and he kicks Terry Jesmer. The referee takes a point away from Muhammad El-Tassi. Moving on to round number 6, El-Tassi seems to get his composure back. He would floor Jesmer 2 times. They appeared to be knockdowns, but it can't be sure because the ring was getting so sloppy. On possible knockdown number 3, Terry Jesmer actually tackles Muhammad El-Tassi. They both hit the deck. It's no knockdown as the fight continues. This thing got really sloppy. By round 11, Terry Jesmer was cut very badly, and the doctor stopped the bout, so Muhammad El-Tassi retains his Canadian middleweight championship. And there was one other fight tonight, one other major fight. Donovan Razor Ruddock of Toronto, he's the new Canadian heavyweight boxing champion. He beat Ken Lacusta. He knocked him out in round number 1. Well, moving from Saskatoon to Paris, Toronto's Helen Kelsey continues to march on at the French Open Tennis Championships. Today she moved into the quarterfinals with a convincing 6-2, 6-1 victory over Nicole Jagerman of Holland. Kelsey's next opponent is the 4th seed Gabriela Sabatini. Elsewhere at the French Open, a big name was a loser today. 7-time winner Chris Evert lost to a Spaniard who's a teenager.
French Open champion Chris Evert needed cortisone and courage to play her 3rd round match today at the French Open. She was up against a young Spaniard, 17-year-old Arantxa Sanchez. And although Sanchez loses this point, she would win the first set, 6-3. Now Evert has a bad heel. 3 weeks ago she pulled out of the Italian Open, but she decided she would give it a try in Paris trying to defend her French Open title. But Sanchez was just too much. The young 17-year-old played a steady baseline game and waited for the veteran to make mistakes. This long rally would end in victory for Sanchez. She beats Chris Evert 6-3, 7-6 to advance to the 4th round of the French Open.
Other winners today included the number 1 ladies seed Steffi Graf, and on the men's side, top seed Yvonne Lendl, number 3 Mats Wilander, 4th seed Pat Cash, and number 5 Boris Becker. They were all winners. On to the NBA playoffs this afternoon. The Celtics and Pistons played Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final. The team split the first 2 games in the Boston Garden, so they went back to Pontiac, where the Detroit Pistons had beaten the Celtics 8 games straight.
It was a battle of the guards early on in Detroit. Isaiah Thomas doing his things for the Detroit Pistons, and his counterpart, Danny Ainge, was doing his stuff for the Boston Celtics. Larry Bird out to Ainge from 3-point land. He would hit it, and Boston was close early on, but that's the only time they were close. Joe Dumars was 6 for 6 at the beginning of the game, hitting this 3-pointer, and you wouldn't know it by the expression on Chuck Daly's face, but his Pistons were in control. They end the first half, Isaiah Thomas picking the pocket of John Paxson and scoring. Detroit had an 8-point lead after the first half of basketball. In the second half, again, it was all Piston. James Edwards picking up the ball off the ground, getting fouled, putting it home. The Pistons up by 12 at that point. Boston tries to get back in it. Dennis Johnson does his thing from 3-point land. He'll put it home. They're within 9, but that's as close as the Celtics were going to come. Adrian Dantley with a nice play here, driving into the lane. He'll get fouled. He'll still put it home. Chuck Daly and the Detroit Pistons win it 98-94 and go up 2-1 in the Eastern Conference Final.
Game number 4 in that series goes Monday afternoon, but tomorrow afternoon it'll be Game 4 of the Western Conference Final. The Los Angeles Lakers lead Dallas 2-1, but tomorrow's game is in Dallas, Texas. On to golf. Jack Nicklaus's tournament, the Memorial, continues to be led by Hale Irwin. He's holding on to a slim 1-shot lead over David Frost and the hard-charging Curtis Strange.
Hale Irwin, the leader after 2 rounds at the Memorial Golf Tournament. He would play well this afternoon, dropping that birdie putt at 12 and putting him to 9 under. Andrew McGee also played well. He sinks this 6-footer at the 14th hole, and that put him in a tie with Irwin at -9. But it did not last long, as Irwin played this great approach shot at the 14th. Watch it as it rolls to within 3 feet of the cup. He then steps up and drains his birdie putt and goes to -10 and the lead all by himself. The man who had the best round of the day, though, was Curtis Strange. He sank this long birdie putt at 18 to shoot a 64 on the day, tying the course record. Also playing well, David Frost, this birdie at 17 put him at 9 under. He is 1 stroke back of Hale Irwin with 18 holes left to play.
The top Canadian is Vancouver's Richard Zokol. He's 20 shots off the pace. Meanwhile, on the seniors tour, Orville Moody is the leader with a round to go at an event in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And on the ladies tour, Sherry Turner is the leader after 3 rounds of the Corning Classic in New York. Canada's national soccer team was in action this afternoon. In Toronto, the squad was playing in the final of the Sir Stanley Matthews Cup.
Greece has the best opportunity early in the first half. Metropolis's header is stopped by Canadian keeper Greg Forrest. Canada's good opportunity came when John Capsliff makes a nice move. His shot is stopped by Sarganis. 90 minutes of soccer plus 30 minutes of overtime did nothing, so penalty kicks were in order. Sarganis hits the crossbar, giving a great opportunity for Canada. But John Littimus is stopped, so we're tied at 2 after 3 kicks. But then Greg Forrest comes up with the big save, and Canada has a golden opportunity to win the Sir Matthews Cup. Jerry Gray does it, putting it into the back of the net. And for the first time, Canada wins the Sir Matthews Cup 1-0 over Greece.
Meanwhile, in Britain today, soccer fans weren't quite so happy. After a match in London, a riot broke out.
The trouble began immediately after the match when Chelsea fans, who'd just seen their club relegated to the 2nd division, invaded the pitch by bursting through a safety gate. They confronted the Middlesbrough fans and began throwing bottles and stones at them. The police then moved to contain the violence, first on foot and then with the help of mounted men who arrived along with police reinforcements. The anger of the hooligans was then turned on the police themselves, and 1 policeman was injured as they attempted to restore order. During the trouble, the police made a number of arrests, and Scotland Yard said the situation at the ground had now been brought under control.
I'll be right back with a story in baseball. Stay with us.
It's Goodyear's second tire half-price sale. Buy 1 all-season high-performance Eagle GT Plus 4 at our regular price. Get a second half price. Buy Goodyear's best all-season Vector. Get another half price. And save on radials for vans, pickups, and campers. Our lowest priced high-performance and all-season radials at participating Goodyear retailers now.
Goodyear takes you home.
Look at this, it's down a full point now.
Yeah, well,
look.
a little rebound.
Yeah? What do you think I should do?
Look, it's your money.
Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a carnival? Yeah, what would you do with this?
Oh, business class.
Yeah, business class is great. What would you do with this stuff?
I averaged down.
You bought more?
You don't make any money following the crowd.
More?
Eat. Come on.
How can anybody eat?
The Montreal Expos continue to tread water in the National League East. This afternoon, they beat the LA Dodgers in 10 innings, so the Expos are now 1 game under 500.
The Dodgers break a 1-1 tie against Neil Heaton in the 7th inning. Dave Anderson's sacrifice fly scoring Mickey Hatcher. But with 2 out in the 9th against Fernando Valenzuela, Andres Galarraga lines a ball to left field. Herman Winningham, pinch running for Tim Wallach, races for home and beats the throw to the plate. It's a tie game 2-2. And into extra innings we go with the loud Big O. And in the 10th, with the bases loaded and 1 out, this single to left field by Huey Brooks scores Luis Rivera with the winning run. And once again, extra innings are deadly for Expos opponents. Montreal wins 3-2 for their 6th win in 7 extra inning games and 18th win in 20 over the last 2 seasons.
So the Expos end the Dodgers' winning streak at 4 games, and the New York Mets spoiled Jack McKeon's managing debut with the San Diego Padres. Earlier in the day, the Padres fired manager Larry Boa and then moved team vice president McKeon into the dugout.
New Padres manager Jack McKeon cheering on his team at Shea Stadium tonight, and his team would score first. We're in the top of the 1st inning. At the plate, Marvell Wynn. Wynn comes through with an infield single. Gary Templeton would come in to score. That put the Padres on top by a score of 1-0. We move now to the bottom of the 6th inning. The game tied at 1. Kevin McReynolds pulls a double down the left field line. Darryl Strawberry was on second at the time. He would race around to score, and that put the Mets on top by a score of 2-1. Then just 3 batters later at the plate, Kevin Elster. Elster pulls a single into left field. That would be enough to bring Kevin McReynolds across the plate, and it gave the New York Mets a lead of 3-1. The very next batter was the pitcher for the Mets, David Cone. Cone comes through with another single into left field. Howard Johnson would come in to score. The Mets go on to beat the Padres by a score of 5-1.
And the Pittsburgh Pirates stay in 2nd place in the East, 4.5 off the pace of the Mets. Tonight the Pirates beat the Reds 5-2. Barry Bonds won it with a homer in the 5th inning. The Chicago Cubs defeated the Houston Astros 14-7 as Sean Dunston had 4 hits for the Cubbies. And last year's champ in the National League West, the San Francisco Giants, they seem to be biding their time in 3rd place right now. This afternoon they lost in 10 innings to the Phillies.
We start in the top of the 4th inning from Philadelphia. The Giants trail 1-0. Candy Maldonado with a base hit into left field. Robbie Thompson and Will Clark would both score for the Giants. San Francisco had a lead of 2-1. We move now to the top of the 5th inning. It's still 2-1. Robbie Thompson, another single into left field. Jose Uribe would come around from second to score. The Giants had a lead of 3-1. To the bottom of the 6th inning, it's still a 3-1 contest. The batter for Philadelphia is Mike Schmidt. Schmidt goes the opposite way, a towering drive to deep right field. This one off of the wall. Lance Parrish was on second at the time. He would come around to score. In the meantime, Schmidt went into second with a double. That cut the Giant advantage. It was a 3-2 ball game. We move now to the bottom of the 7th inning. The batter, Lance Parrish. Parrish pulls a base hit to left field. On the play, Juan Samuel would come in to score. That tied the ball game at 3 apiece. And that's the way it stood until the bottom of the 10th inning. At the plate for Philadelphia, Von Hayes. Hayes gets the pitch he was looking for, a shot to deep right field, over the fence for a home run. That was the game winner. Philadelphia beats San Francisco 4-3.
One other game in the National League today, the Atlanta Braves beat the St. Louis Cardinals 2-1. Pitcher Rick Mailer won his 6th game in a row for the Braves. And over to the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays continue to go absolutely nowhere. In fact, if it wasn't for the Baltimore Orioles, the Jays would be in the basement in the East. This afternoon, Toronto lost to Chicago.
In the 3rd, Stevie Lyons gets things started with a solo homer to right off Jose Nunez, and it's 1-0 for the Pale Hose. But the Jays with a solo shot of their own in the 4th inning. It's Rance Mulliniks who is hitting of late. This one off Melito Perez, Mulliniks' 5th round trip of the season. The game's all tied up at 1. Now, after Kelly Gruber had singled Freddie McGriff to 3rd base, Ernie Witt steps up to the plate, and he will take this one to center field. He'll cash in McGriff with a sacrifice fly. It's deep to center. McGriff comes in to score. The Jays lead it 2-1 after 4 innings of play. But Chicago, so much for that. In the 7th, it again will be Steve Lyons at the plate. And this time, what does he do? He singles it right up the middle off David Wells. That'll score Dan Pasqua. Ties up the game at 2 until Gary Reedus, double play ball, will score Mark Salas at the bottom of your screen as Chicago nips Toronto 3-2.
The first-place Yankees are out on the coast. They trail Seattle 5-1. That game's in the 6th inning. In Cleveland tonight, they almost had a no-hitter. Milwaukee's Odell Jones was the man on the mound, but he came up 2 batters short.
Top of the 4th inning, there's no score in the game. That's Dale Swaim, who's batting for the Milwaukee Brewers, and Swaim will get a base hit up the middle past the diving Julio Franco. Rob Deere, who was on 3rd, comes in to score, and the Brewers take a 1-0 lead. Now the defensive play of the game comes in the top of the 5th inning. That's B.J. Surhoff, the batter. Bouncer up the middle this time. Julio Franco makes the nice play and a great throw to get Surhoff at first base. Now we'll move to the top of the 7th inning. Score still 1-0 Brewers. Greg Brock with a fly ball into left field. Mel Hall dives for it, goes past him to the wall. In to score comes B.J. Surhoff as Hall retrieves the ball and throws it back in. The Brewers lead 2-0. Odell Jones had a perfect game through 7 1/3 innings, a no-hitter through 8 1/3. He struck out 7, including Dave Clark, to lead off the 9th inning. But the next batter was pinch hitter Ron Washington, and Washington would break up the no-hitter with a base hit into right field. That was Odell Jones' last pitch of the game. He was taken out. The Brewers still go on to win 2-0.
Elsewhere tonight, Milwaukee over Cleveland, Minnesota beat Detroit, Oakland over Boston, Kansas City beat Texas, and California leads Baltimore. That's all for Sportsbeat.
Okay, John, that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. In the meantime, enjoy the hot weather and have a nice weekend. Good night.
This is CBC Television.